Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Greg Sussman, joined today by Gabe Morency of Sports Grid, as he's going to help us break down Week 1 and his betting card. What's going on, Gabe?
Always a pleasure, Greg. Let's do this thing.
Let's get right into it and begin with, who else? Your favorite team, the Buffalo Bills, who are right here in New York. They're face off against the Jets in New Jersey. I know, Gabe, you're going to be at the game cheering on your Bills. You putting your money behind them as well?
Well, I'll tell you what, earlier in the week when we were talking about the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, we talked about since 2014, division dogs on the road, 11-2-1 against the spread after Green Bay's outright victory. Let's make it 12-2-1. The Buffalo Bills fall into this spot. The problem with this game is this is the trendy it game of the week on the street. A lot of people that bet professionally have bet the Buffalo Bills. The 3 is no longer there. There was a 3.5 a couple of weeks ago. That's long gone right now. At 2.5, I can't do it. But despite the fact that the Super Bowl had as much scoring as a soccer game, and despite the fact that the Packers-Bear game had as much scoring as a soccer game, I think there's going to be some points in this football game. I think Adam Gase's offense is going to be effective against the Buffalo Bills defense throwing the football. I think Josh Allen will make a couple of big plays with his legs. I think Josh Allen will make a couple of big plays down the field. And ultimately, I think both teams get into the 20s. This game's going to be a fun game, sets the tone for both teams for the upcoming year. Two teams that I'm high on, guys, as far as play on teams. It's too bad they're playing against each other in Week 1. It's a tough game. I think it's a 23-20 game. Give me over 40.5 points.
Some scoring will be had at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. The Jets and the Bills, not exactly what you think of with high-powered offenses, but this number's low enough that they're going to go over it. Over 40.5 is Gabe's favorite bet of the week. Let's continue on, and that brings us to the Indianapolis Colts. It's a later game because they are in Los Angeles to face the Chargers. And, of course, they're without Andrew Luck. But, Gabe, I feel like people are falling over themselves to bet away from the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, I tell you what, I think there's been an overreaction to Andrew Luck's retirement, and I think there's an underappreciation of how good Jacoby Brissett actually is. But this is our opportunity to put our money where our mouths are, and if you think I'm wrong, then go over to FanDuel and lay it down on the Chargers. But I'll tell you what, laying points, this many points with Phillip Rivers is not going to get you rich. You're not going to be buying any new cars. Phillip Rivers, his role is as an underdog, all right? It's not laying points. We can talk about Andrew Luck all we want. Who's actually a healthier football team coming into this football game? I don't know. The Colts didn't lose Derwin James, did they? No. The Chargers did. Does Russell Okung play for the Indianapolis Colts, one of their best linemen? No, he plays for the Chargers. We could go on. Oh, yeah, Melvin Gordon. Isn't he pretty good? I know all you fantasy guys out there think Jackson and Eckert. Chargers ain't winning no Super Bowl without Melvin Gordon. I'll tell you that right now. They might win this football game. I think this game's going to come down to the wire. People underappreciate just how good this Colts defense is. And I'll tell you what, guys, Frank Reich led the biggest comeback, all right, in college football history. Maryland Terrapins. Greg, probably don't have to tell you, the starting quarterback of that game.
Frank Reich, baby!
Boomer Esiason.
Oh.
Frank Reich,
he came through for us.
Yeah, he came. It's just amazing. He came in as a backup for Boomer Esiason, biggest comeback ever. Did the same thing for the Buffalo Bills. So he has the biggest comeback ever in college. He's the biggest comeback ever in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. And I'm worried about Jacoby Brissett. No. Give me the Indianapolis Colts plus 6.5, and I'll tell you what, I'm not shocked if they win this game outright. That's right. Colts can win this game outright.
Indianapolis is unheralded at this moment. No one expects anything from them. You know what? No one ever expects anything from Frank Reich. I'm all over Indy, by the way, Gabe. Even win the Super Bowl, their odds have gotten so low, it's worth putting some money on, man.
And I don't know how you feel about trends, but the fact is Jacoby Brissett is 7-3 against the spread in his career against AFC West opponents.
Jacoby Brissett and the Colts look like one of the better picks of the week, so get in on them over at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Moving on to another one of Gabe's best bets here this week. That brings us to the Detroit Lions, who face off against the hottest new thing in the NFL, Cliff Kingsbury and the Arizona Cardinals. Gabe, what do you think?
I'm not going to drop a lot of numbers and trends on you in this football game. I'm actually pro Kyler Murray. I don't have a problem with his size. It's a modern National Football League right now, but I'm also not buying this. we kept it vanilla in the preseason, but you're going to see once the regular season starts, they don't have the luxury of doing that. And the fact of the matter is, the Detroit Lions could be a good football team. Now, let me tell you guys right now, I don't like Matt Patricia as a head coach. I don't think he's a good head coach. I think they made a mistake in firing Jim Caldwell, and you can tell that the players just don't play as hard for Patricia as they did. Now it's year 2 for Patricia. Word out of Detroit is he's lightened up a little bit. You see him smiling a little bit more right now. And the players have to play for themselves instead of the coach. They have to play for themselves. They have to play for their fans. They have to play for the city of Detroit. This isn't just about Kyler Murray, but I think that Kingsbury's offense is going to struggle early against a pretty impressive Detroit defense, guys. They got a ton of freaking talent on the defensive line. Slade's one of the best DBs in the league. Galladay's a freak. Peterson is suspended. He's not there. Kerryon Johnson should have some success. Kyler Murray and the Cards offense might make a couple of cute plays that'll make, Sports Center. But ultimately, when it's all said and done, if the Detroit Lions don't win this game, they should just fire Matt Patricia and leave him in the desert. Lions win. Lions win. And let me tell you, that's not a sentence that usually ends well. Hey, guys, I like the Detroit Lions this week, but I like the Detroit Lions this week.
We don't say it often, and for good reason, because it's the Lions. But hey, this week against Arizona, it may be worth it. Detroit, one of Gabe's best bets.
Stafford's going to pick them apart, Greg.
All right, moving on to our next game. The New York Giants and the Cowboys seem to open up the season every year together in Dallas. This year's no different. Eli Manning once again returns to Dallas. He's the man that got the first win at the new stadium at Jerry World. Eli Manning may be looking to do it one more time in this what is expected to be his swan song. The Giants, the Cowboys, week 1, a tradition unlike any other, Gabe.
Well, and a tradition like no other is me, for one reason or another, betting on Eli Manning or Andy Dalton. And here we go. Give me Eli Manning and the New York Football Giants. Although betting on Eli Manning is really like going back to a restaurant that sucked for the last 6, 7, 8 years. But you had a good meal there once, like 10, 12 years ago, and you have good memories. You had your first date. You fell in love at the restaurant, but the food isn't good anymore. But every time you go back, you have hope that it will be. And I've got hope that it will be. Being at the FanDuel Sportsbook, I like to tell people that I've been at Giants camp every day. Technically, I have. I've drone by. I've seen the ball fly over the fence a couple of times. But all kidding aside, Eli Manning does have some zip on the ball right now. I don't know if it's just because it's early. I don't know if it's because he's worked out a little bit more and he's feeling the pressure of Danny Dimes, who's going to take his job sooner rather than later. We hope, because the kid looks good. But ultimately, Eli Manning has played well in his career against the Dallas Cowboys. And also, you're going to go broke. Jason Garrett's like 17-33 as a favorite. All right? Just not even laying this type of pointage. Dallas have never been a good home favorite. And people say preseason doesn't mean anything. Well, Big Blue, we're 4-0 straight up, Greg, in the preseason. The last 7 times that a team went undefeated in the preseason and they were getting 7 points or more in a football game in week 1, they're 6-1 against the spread. Cowboys might win this game, but give me Saquon Barkley and the upstart Giants. Giants had a great camp. I think it pays dividends this week. Sign me up. Give me the 7 points.
Maybe Dallas isn't as good as we think. Maybe the Giants won't be as bad, but we do know when these two teams get together, games are usually pretty good, and it's especially pretty close. 7 points, it's a lot. Get on the Giants and get on Eli Manning, potentially one last time. Continuing on with Gabe's best bets of the week, we're going to go over to Monday night because one of Gabe's favorite bets come from there. A lot of drama in Oakland, with the latest being that Antonio Brown very well may play now on Monday Night Football. And the Broncos, even still, are favorites by 2.5. It's a whole lot of hoopla in Oakland, Gabe. What do you think?
Yeah, there is, and a lot can change in 24, 48 hours. A lot can change in 10 minutes when we're talking about the Raiders right now. I'm not a big believer in the Denver Broncos, and quite frankly, whether AB plays or not, it doesn't really affect the handicap too much for me in this football game. You know, we have the better defense, a far superior defense in the Denver Broncos. I think Vic Fangio is going to confuse the hell out of the Raiders offensively. The Raiders' firepower is just few and far between. And, you know, even with Antonio Brown in the lineup, it wouldn't be enough. I mean, Harris, one of the best DBs in the league. The Broncos' defense, I think, will do enough to shut down the Raiders, and Flacco will make enough plays. You know, a 22-yarder here, a 38-yarder there. Ultimately, in the long run, I'm not a believer in Joe Flacco, but I am a believer in Von Miller. I am a believer in Vic Fangio, and you know the Raiders are just too dysfunctional right now to put any money on. I like the season win total under for the Raiders 6, and I like the Denver Broncos on Monday Night Football.
Getting off the Raiders makes a lot of sense given the distractions that have surrounded them all off season. Tonight, or Monday night rather, Denver will get their opportunity to get their first win of the season and the first win of the Vic Fangio and Joe Flacco era. One last best bet to get to, and that brings us to Sunday Night Football, where it's the Steelers and the Pats. Could be a preview of the AFC Championship game. It's Antonio Brown's former team versus his future team, maybe? We'll see. Steelers-Pats, Sunday night, Foxborough. What do you think, Gabe?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really looking forward to this football game, and I don't know what I'm missing here. This isn't really so much a numbers play, but more so an eyeball test here, in which, you know, a total of 49 points just feels a little low in this football game to me. You know, all the fantasy experts coming into the year, in my opinion, are underselling Tom Brady and the Patriots offense. Rob Gronkowski barely ever played anyways over the last couple of years. Tom Brady is still Tom Brady, all right? He doesn't age. He's got, like, vampire blood. He hangs out with Keith Richards and gets transfusions or something like that. I don't know, all right? He just doesn't age, and I don't think he's going to age overnight right now. Josh Gordon could do some serious damage here. I think there's going to be some points, and I also think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a real dangerous football team this year. I think we're going to have a fun game on Sunday Night Football like we normally and often do. And ultimately, I think both teams are going to end up getting into the 50s when we combine their total points. Greg, give me over 49 points here. I think the number's just too low.
We talked about one over-under earlier on in the program, Bills and Jets 40.5. This number much, much higher. But unlike Thursday Night Football, this is the real opening week primetime game. Patriots, Steelers, points will be found early and often. Go over, says Gabe Morency. That's going to do it for us here on the FanDuel Hurry Up. Gabe, good luck this week. We're rooting for you, man.
May the winners be yours.
To everybody else, have a great weekend. Good luck. And Gabe and I will see you back here Monday as we preview once again both Monday Night Football games. Have a great weekend, everybody.